What is up everyone, and welcome to some more F123 My Team Career Mode. We are here for round number 11 of Season 4 of our Jaguar racing career, and we are going to be racing in Great Britain today. It is my home Grand Prix. We are riding off the back of 2 race wins in a row in Canada and in Austria, and I am hoping that we can make it 3 for 3 as we try and win our home Grand Prix for the first time in F123 My Team Career Mode. First and foremost, before we do anything else, we have to sign a brand new sponsor, and I am going to be looking at some of the options we've got here and deciding based on that who I want to go with. I was thinking about going for one this high because I do think that we have the capability of doing some of these. Definitely not this one, because Kevin Magnussen, I wouldn't trust him to be able to finish on the podium at the moment. Unfortunately, he's just he's not quite there in terms of the level of his performance. But I think that maybe something around here, you know, achieving a top 4 finish during the race. I think even if I don't do that, there is a slight chance that Kevin Magnussen might be able to do it. So yeah, I'm going to put my faith in him to be able to do that, and we will see what we're capable of doing. But yeah, it's nice knowing that we've reached a claim level 25 at this point. It is good to know that doing all of these events and stuff that I've been doing has actually had a bit of an impact on things overall. And I've also been doing those Pirelli hot laps as well. Obviously you just see me skip directly over them, but I do each and every one of them. So I've probably done somewhere in the realm of about 70 of them at this point. And well, they're not particularly entertaining, but they are pretty crucial for raising money for the team and raising a claim, that kind of thing. They definitely help you keep an even footing with the rest of the teams on the grid, I would say, when you're running on reduced sliders and they're on increased sliders. It really does make a difference. So yeah, obviously Silverstone, for those of you who don't know at this point, I would have to say it is probably one of my favourite tracks on the entire calendar. I've always loved this place. I always do really good laps here in qualifying, and I find that I have pretty decent pace here in the race, although not so much on this year's game actually. F123, for whatever reason, this track seems to be a bit of a weaker one for me. I don't know if it's simply that I started on a significantly higher difficulty than I ever played on before with this game. So in terms of my overall sort of performance, I am maybe a little bit slower compared to the AI than I have been when we did F122. You know, I started out on 95 difficulty. We're currently running at 98 difficulty, and at one point we were even running at 99, but I was kind of getting my arse handed to me on 99, so we're back down to 98 for the time being. If I win this rivalry that we're running against Charles Leclerc, however, we will be bumping it back up. That's how I operate here. Win a rivalry equals difficulty up by 1, lose a rivalry, difficulty down by 1, and you know, I think we're in a pretty good place in terms of the overall difficulty level. I find that the races are very hard, but simultaneously I find that I do have the propensity to get pole positions and wins still, so I assume that means I must be sort of in the right realm. But anyway, it's now time for us to get into qualifying, and speaking of pole positions, I am hoping that I can do exactly that here. We start out on not a used set, that would be impossible. We start out on a fresh set of soft compound tyres, and we do a 123.9. I do think that there is a bit more improvement to be had there. We're currently running in P2, however, and as we get to the end of the session, you can see that we are in P5. However, we have had a major improvement, about 0.7 of a second worth of improvement, just under. It's going to be a 123.2 as we cross the line, and that is going to be good enough to put us P1 for the time being. But that's only Q1. We've still got 2 more sessions to get through if we want to be challenging for pole position. So yeah, job is not done yet, but 0.5 faster than the nearest driver is certainly very encouraging to see at this stage. Kevin Magnussen P11, hopefully he can improve a little bit to get himself into Q3, and no surprises in the eliminations there. Very Noah's Ark. It's the 2 Williams, the 2 Alfa Romeos, the 2 Alfa Tauris, Fittipaldi, Lawson, Joe, Tsunoda, De Vries and Stroll eliminated on this occasion. Both Hasses making it through, and well, you would probably expect every driver that got through other than those 2 to make it through 9 times out of 10, if not 10 times out of 10, with how this season's gone. The only driver I can remember being eliminated in Q1 at any point from outside those 4 teams was Charles Leclerc in Canada, where he qualified 22nd. So yeah, we're now on a used set of soft compound tyres. It's a 124.1. That was our banker, pretty decent banker. Probably would be good enough to see us through to Q2 in isolation. But, well, it's actually put us P11, so we will have to improve here. And fortunately, we're doing just that. We're 7 tenths up. I think we've got a pretty solid chance of making it through to Q3 here, you would have to say. 8 tenths now, approaching 9 tenths. We're going to improve by around a second here, even if this final chicane doesn't go so well. It's not terrible. It's not great, but it's not terrible. And, yeah, we improved by just over 8 tenths. It's another 1:23.2, and that, once again, is good enough for first place. So, we have been first place in Q1, first place in Q2, so it's only logical we're going to be 7th place in Q3. No, I'm just kidding, but that has happened before, obviously. I can't remember where it was, but there was definitely somewhere where I was like, I think I'm going to get pole here, and then I ended up qualifying 7th. Magnussen in P8 there, so he is through to Q3. Eliminated Ocon, Hauger, Gasly, Hulkenberg, Sargent, and Albon failing to set a time. Will be starting from 16th. Disappointing for him, I'm sure. Not sure if there was a reason behind him failing to set a time or what the deal was there, but yeah, a bit of a surprise because he has been very good in qualifying this season. I think the races have let him down a little bit, to be honest, but he obviously got that win in Monaco when he qualified on pole. So, yeah, the qualifying pace is definitely there for him, but maybe just a bit more to make up in the race still. We're now through into Q3, and we are on a used set once again, 1:23.8 as we cross the line. And it seems like everyone's kind of bucked their ideas up on this occasion. A lot of people are faster than me, but, you know, I've got at least 6 tenths in hand. I know that for a fact. So hopefully we can improve enough to make our way up the order. It would be a shame if we were all the way down in P9 come the start of the race tomorrow, especially after being first and first in the first 2 qualifying sessions. We're improving by close to a second here. I don't know if it's going to be quite as high as a second, but it will be pretty darn close. Over 9 tenths worth of improvement. As we cross the line, it is going to be a 1:22.8, and that is good enough for P2. Who else was in the 1:22s? I can't believe that. That is devastating.
And with qualifying complete, let's review our top 3 today. Norris, Robinson, and Oscar Piastri. Goodbye for now then, but we are really just getting started. Make sure you join us again for Lights Out tomorrow.
Now, I don't want to call qualifying glitch unfairly, but how on earth has Norris done a 1:22.5? Seriously, man, that is some next level driving right there from Lando Norris, if that is legit. And I imagine he's going to make life very difficult for me tomorrow morning. I said in the previous video it was going to be a battle between myself and Lando Norris to win our home Grand Prix, and we are going to be starting alongside one another on the front row of the grid for the race tomorrow. So I am very, very excited to see how that one pans out between myself and Lando Norris. Will I be able to get one of my trademark strong starts and jump him into turn 1? Will he be able to get a strong start and defend from me into turn 1? Will we crash into one another? Who knows? But we are going to find out very shortly. It's going to be a dry race, I believe, for the entire duration. So we will see what we can do as we get into the British Grand Prix.
We meet again at Silverstone for one of the great Formula One races of the entire calendar. With a barely believable capacity crowd creating a phenomenal atmosphere, it is time for a race that puts a smile on your face. It is time for the British Grand Prix. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Lando Norris will lead us away from pole position, and Robinson completes the front row. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Oscar Piastri, Théo Pourchaire, Russell, Perez, Leclerc, Verstappen, Magnussen, Sainz, Ocon, Hauger, Gasly, Hulkenberg, Sargent, Albon, Fittipaldi, Liam Lawson, Joe, Tsunoda, De Vries, and Lance Stroll brings the grid to a close. Now, it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track.
Right, mate, I know it's your home Grand Prix, but I want you to treat it like any other race. Let's not make any unnecessary risks, please.
Well, hopefully I won't have to take any unnecessary risks, because hopefully I will be leading after turn 1 and we can just drive off into the sunset away from all of these guys. If you've watched one of these videos before, you and I both know that's not what's going to transpire here, because it never ever pans out that way. I simply don't have the pace around any circuit, I don't think, to drive away from the rest of the cars on the grid. I think the only time I've been capable of doing that so far this season has been in Canada, when I was on a vastly superior strategy to everybody else at the end of the race, and that was only because I was in a very advantageous position to begin with. That probably won't happen again this season unless I find myself on another advantageous strategy at some point. But anyway, enough about that. It is now time for the lights to come on. And the lights go out, and Lando Norris once again has had a lightning fast getaway there. We are going to pull alongside him as we go on the run to turn 1, but we're going to be only wheel to wheel. We're squeezed to the inside of the corner, and he's just about going to cling on to the lead of the Grand Prix. We really looked like we were going to challenge him for a second there, but it wasn't meant to be, and we're going to have to just sit back for a second and try and close him down over the course of the lap, if we can. His teammate Théo Pourchaire no doubt will begin putting pressure on me very shortly to try and make it a Mercedes 1-2 here if he possibly can. Norris, of course, has something to prove after the absolutely shambolic performance that he put in the previous video in Austria. If you haven't watched that one, definitely go and check that one out, because Lando Norris did a move that I said should warrant really being black flagged, quite frankly. It did completely screw over his entire weekend, so maybe he got a deserved punishment for it. But either way, it was absolutely embarrassing, the driving standards on display by Lando Norris in the previous race. Théo Pourchaire, meanwhile, has managed to break ahead of us just about. He just seemed to have a much better exit from Copse than I did. And now, as we exit Maggots and Beckett's, it is going to be Sergio Perez who is closing me down on the run into Stowe. We're going to try and fight him back, stick a wheel in there. He's going to go out wide a little bit, and that's going to compromise his run. And we're going to be able to just about sneak through there. But it's cost us time to Théo Pourchaire in front. So we're no longer anywhere near as close as we are compared to him. And yeah, we're going to have to see if we can try and close that gap now over the course of the ensuing laps. We've still got 25 laps left to go here in the British Grand Prix. There's plenty of things which could still happen. But yeah, as we make our way now onto lap 4, you can see that Sergio Perez once again closing me down. I've just about fallen out of range of Norris and Pourchaire. I was pushing like mad and probably wearing out the tyres quite a lot to try and stay with them, and it still wasn't enough. They still just seemed to have pace in spades compared to me, and that allowed Sergio Perez to get ahead of me eventually using the DRS, and I'm sure it won't be a matter of time before we start coming under pressure from his teammate George Russell as well. But actually what ended up happening on the ensuing lap was that I just about had the pace to stay with Sergio Perez, and with the DRS we're going to try and go around the outside of him at Stowe. We come on the run down to the Vale chicane, and as we get to the Vale chicane we're going to go a little bit deep, hold him up a tiny bit, but I think it was fair enough. We did leave him some room there, and we have made our way back onto the podium in P3. So yeah, a very, very surprising turn of events, but one that I am not too displeased about. We have made our way back up into P3. If we can get a podium here, minimise the damage that Lando Norris can do to us, that would be fantastic. Pourchaire and Norris are battling in front, but meanwhile I've got bigger things to worry about as the two Red Bulls begin battling directly in front of me, having both overtaken me on the same stretch of track. We've moved from P3 to P5 in the space of not even a corner. It was a straight one DRS zone was enough, and now I wouldn't be surprised if we come under pressure from Oscar Piastri behind as well. Our tyres are really starting to drop off. I don't know what's going on here, but on the run into Maggots and Beckett's, Oscar Piastri is going to mount the challenge, and he's actually going to get ahead here. There was nothing I could do to fight him back. He's just diving up the inside, absolutely no regard for me whatsoever. Piastri has made his way up into, I believe that is P6, no, P5, and we're down to P6. But wait a second, we're going to fight him back up the inside at Stowe, and once again Stowe is just bailing us out so far in this race. No matter what happens, it seems like we have that corner on lockdown. We're not getting overtaken into there no matter what happens. Now we're coming under pressure from Verstappen instead of Piastri. He's fallen back a little bit. And again in Stowe, it's actually Théo Pourchaire there going slowly. I think he has a puncture or some kind of damage. He was holding up Sergio Perez, and I was able to just sweep round the outside of both of them, and that has moved us back into P3 in this race. Next up, we are going to be boxing a couple laps earlier than we planned. to get a bit of an undercut on the cars in front. I don't think Norris was close enough to us to have any chance of undercutting him, but hopefully we can maybe pull off an undercut on George Russell and make our way back into P2 where we started this race, if we can make this undercut work. A lot of people who started on the softs are coming in now. Fortunately, there was nobody ahead of me on the soft compound tyres, and so I should be pulling off an undercut on anyone who started who was running in front of me or close to behind me before that point. So yeah, we definitely aren't going to lose any positions, but we'll see if there is anything to gain here. Of course, Porsche actually did box on the previous lap because he had that damage, and that means he is about 3 seconds behind me at the moment, so we will have to worry about him, but he is going to be on very used hard compound tyres by the end of this Grand Prix. So we'll see what he's capable of as we start warming up these tyres, getting them up to temperature. End of lap 13 now, and the first medium compound runners are starting to come into the pits, fitting on the hards to the end of the race. You can see Leclerc and Piastri, who were quite close to the back of me before the pit stop phase, and also there is Verstappen and Perez as well, who we're going to be coming out ahead of. They were quite close to me prior to the pit stop phase. I am now about 2 or 3 seconds in front of those guys, so this undercut has definitely worked nicely, but Porsche is closing us down at the moment. Meanwhile, Norris 4 seconds up the road from us. I would wage to say that this epic battle I was hyping up is probably not going to come unless we have some kind of safety car or something like that. But in any case, we've got a few more people coming into the pits now. My former teammate Dennis Hauger, my current teammate Kevin Magnussen, Carlos Sainz, and of course George Russell, who was running in P2 before the pit stop phase began, and we are now comfortably ahead of him. Next up, we are looking at Enzo Fittipaldi in the Williams. Once again, that Williams just having absolutely appalling reliability this season. You got to feel bad for them, but yeah, he is going to be parking up and retiring from the Grand Prix. As we make our way onto lap 18, end of lap 18, we now have Max Verstappen for company here. He's going to be trying to put some pressure on us and trying to get past us, make his way into P2, and we're going to fight him to the inside of the first corner to Abbey. And there was a virtual safety car deployed. We did make contact there, and I think he's out of the race, actually. I will show you that from a different angle, although it's not a great angle, the one I was able to get on the replay camera. But I do think I probably should have been penalised for that. That is the one time that I will admit wrongdoing and say that was my fault, because he was alongside, he was entitled to some space, and I pinched him to the inside of Abbey and gave him nowhere to go, basically. So that one, I think, was on me, unfortunately. So yeah, I will hold my hands up and say apologies, Verstappen. I think I was lucky to escape a penalty here. Now we are coming under pressure from George Russell, who is going to try and make his way back into P2, having been there previously. He's going to try and attack me into Maggots and Beckett's, and that time I think that wasn't my fault. I think that Russell, you know, what did he want me to do there? I would have had to have massively compromised my run through Maggots and Beckett's to basically just allow him to overtake me. And yes, he was entitled to some track, but that doesn't mean that I was entitled to basically concede the position to George Russell. So I would have to say, yeah, I think that one was Russell's fault. But to prove I can race cleanly, here's Sergio Perez overtaking me without me crashing into him or anything like that. So it was just the 2 incidents in short succession that happened on this occasion. But yeah, a few laps to forget for me really here in Britain, unfortunately, with Verstappen and Russell just really not working out nicely. And now as we come on the run through Cops, we're going to be coming under pressure from Charles Leclerc as well. He's going to attack me. Is this going to end in disaster again? We actually both managed to get through nicely through Maggots and Beckett's this time. He does compromise his run a little bit, but I was on the racing line. He was the one who would have had to have conceded his position, and he did exactly that. And that is how you race properly through Maggots and Beckett's. It's nice to see that I am able to still race cleanly with these guys in Formula 1. As we make our way onto the end of lap 23 now, you can see Leclerc is closing me down once again, and by the time we get to Stowe this time, he is a full car length ahead of me, and he has made his way up onto the podium. We've been booted off the podium, and we are down to P4, and the points deficit to Lando Norris is going to get worse and worse and worse the more positions we lose. We have to try and get on top of this as quickly as we possibly can if we want any chance of scoring double digits worth of points here. We're going to try and close down Charles Leclerc if we can as we go on the run through Maggots and Beckett's. Once again, we don't have have a great run through there, but I think it's okay. I think his tyres are starting to go off a little bit here as well. Obviously mine a bit more worn out than everyone else's because I boxed a couple laps earlier onto the hards. But as we come on the run up to Stowe, we're going to dive up the inside of Charles Leclerc, and are we going to be able to pull off this move on him? I think we just about are, but he's going to fight us back into the Vale chicane actually here, and we're going to be wheel to wheel through the next sequence of corners to end lap 24. Only 2 laps left to go here, and this is the final podium position we are battling over here. Will it be myself? Will it be Charles Leclerc? Leclerc goes through into Abbey, and Sainz has a look as well. I think it's going to be Leclerc, myself, Sainz on the run through Abbey at the moment, but will there still be opportunities to close down Charles Leclerc? I don't know. We will see whether it rings true over the next couple laps or not, but we are going to try and attack him through this next straight if we possibly can. We will have the DRS on him, of course. We were definitely within 1 second of him. Are we going to dive up the inside at Brooklands? Yes, we are. And as we come on the run into Luffield, we are going to be a full car length ahead of Charles Leclerc, and we have made the overtake back into P3 on track for the last lap of the Grand Prix. Can we defend this position for one more lap? Perez is 3 seconds up the road. Norris is 17 seconds up the road. He is absolutely checked out of this Grand Prix. He's already basically boarded his flight to France. That's how far up the road he is. So, yeah, that is a dominant performance from Lando Norris. But we are going to have to worry about some charging, prancing horses behind us for the final lap. We've got Leclerc, we've got Sainz. And if I'm not careful, I could find myself all the way down in P5. I'm going to have to use my battery strategically here. Make sure I have enough of it to burn through these final sections where they could potentially overtake me. I'm going to burn a little bit on the way down into Copse because I don't have a great run on the exit of Luffield. And as we go through Copse, once again, you can see that they are a little bit faster than me. Again, not quite close enough to attack me into Maggots and Beckett's, but I'm going to need a good run through Maggots and Beckett's, or I am going to be susceptible to Charles Leclerc here. We're a bit close to the inside on the exit there, and I think that might have compromised our run ever so slightly. The gap is below 3 tenths, below 2 tenths, below 1 tenth. He's pulled alongside me. He's going to go for the move. We're going to try and hold him off around the outside. We have to leave him a bit of space, and we have just about managed to hold on around the outside. We had the better run. He's going to challenge me down again into the Vale chicane, but it's a bit of a half-hearted effort from Charles Leclerc, and despite his attempts to get ahead of us, we are going to round the final corner to take P3 at the British Grand Prix here. My goodness, what a absolutely chaotic end to the British Grand Prix there. You couldn't write that, quite frankly. Théo Pourchaire gets driver of the day for his fight back through the field after the damage, and we take P3.
Here we are then, a fantastic British Grand Prix, and what a performance it was from our race winners today. What do you think it was, Ant, that gave them the edge over the competition today?
I really feel the track layout combined with the track temperatures we saw today suited their car. These cars come alive when the tyres are just at the right temperature, and the driver did a great job managing that as well. They just look so comfortable out there. It's like anything, it always looks so easy when it all just clicks.
So after a magnificent race, we can now see the drivers making their way to the podium. Once again, it's the Silver Arrows who take top spot. A well-earned victory for Mercedes.
Lando Norris matching my win tally of 3 so far this season. A great performance from him. I couldn't touch him. Sergio Perez, meanwhile, putting in a bit of an anonymous performance, really. I didn't really see that much of him apart from when he was overtaking me. But, you know, he did work quite hard. Certainly makes up for some very bad luck in Austria last weekend involving the safety car. And, yes, I complete the podium, another 15 points, and we're definitely not out of the championship fight.
So then, it's time to see how this result affects the Drivers' Championship. It's a good result for Lando Norris, who moves further ahead at the top of the table. So let's discuss, Ant. Who would you say is a contender for your Driver of the Day?
It's got to be Lando Norris, hasn't it? Smooth, confident and assured. I've got no doubt that he and his team are going to be over the moon with his performance today.
It's time to see how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. Mercedes moved to the top of the table. Meanwhile, Ferrari have improved their position. A strong weekend for them as they fight their way towards the top. I'm equal parts exhausted and elated with this weekend of Formula One. Be sure to join us for the next one.
So we remain P3 in the Constructors' Championship, which is exactly what I like to see. We are P2 in the Drivers' Championship, which is also very pleasing to the eye, although Lando Norris has gained some ground on us on this occasion, and so we are going to have a much better race than him in France if we want to try and close that gap a little bit again. In the meantime, though, you might look at that championship fight and say, oh, well, myself and Lando Norris are now so far ahead of all the cars behind that surely it will be too much for them to close down. But if there's one thing I can say to you with absolute certainty about every season that has happened in this career mode so far, it is absolutely do not write off anyone until they are mathematically written off. George Russell last season, he won the first 5 or 6 races of the season in a row. He was on 150 points when everyone else hadn't even hit 100 yet. And it was looking like, you know, there was absolutely no way anybody was going to win that championship. And, oh, there's what happened to Russell. He had a spin there, goodness me. But yeah, he was basically, you know, Russell was looking like he was going to dominate that championship. And then he only got like one more win the whole season. And his teammate, Valtteri Bottas, ended up pipping him to the championship. So, yeah, it was definitely an unpredictable season. It looked at one point like Verstappen might win the championship as well, or even that Perez might get involved in it as well. So you really cannot write off anyone until the season is already over. That's the thing I would say. Until mathematically somebody is the confirmed champion, you really just can't write anybody off. So I'm not writing myself off. I know where my strengths lie in the season, and it comes towards the end of the season. You know, if you think about the races that I've won historically, it's, you know, Brazil, Japan, Las Vegas, although that one's not on the calendar this season, Portugal. Those races are the ones where I tend to have my strongest performances. I save them for the end of the season, and so I am confident that that is going to be what happens again this season. So even if I am down on points a little bit going into the last 4 or 5 races in the season, I still think I can close it down. You may have watched my F122 career mode. I was about 50 or so points down on Alex Albon going into the last 4 races of the season, and I won all 4 races, I think, and he had 4 DNFs, or at least I don't remember exactly what happened. I can't remember if it was 4 DNFs or something like that. Either way, he just absolutely shit the bed, quite frankly, and we were able to catch up with him and end up winning another championship. So yeah, that was a really entertaining season, actually. One of my favourites I think I've ever done in an F1 game career mode, I should say, because obviously that was F122. Yeah, big things on the horizon. Still another 12 races left to go in this season. A lot can change yet. 11 points separating myself and Lando Norris, all to play for. Will Magnussen finally step up? I hope so. We might do some facilities upgrade in the next video, so definitely check that one out. But that is going to be it for this video. So if you enjoyed, please make sure you like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.